I published a piece of verse in the Irish Times in Irish. It was about the death of Oscar Wilde in Paris. It was much praised by the local mandarins, and later in the week there was a vicious letter in the paper attacking it as brutal and ugly. Jesus help me, didn't I think I was a great man altogether when complete strangers would go to the trouble of abusing me? Until I discovered that the letter was by someone who disliked me on grounds purely social and racial, and thought it was a disgrace that the likes of me should be allowed into print at all unless it was in the criminal intelligence. I suppose there were great days. I was younger anyway, and even if I had no money, there were people in the literary pubs in the vicinity of Grafton Street that would give me an odd pint of porter or a glass of malt betimes, as long as I could listen respectfully enough to the old chat about angst. A generation or so ago there were arson around the bog, and a bowl of stirabout or a couple of platefuls of spuds would have cured all the angst from here back to Norway. But since the change over in 1922, when they got well down to the porridge pot, there was no holding them. It started off with top hats and white ties and getting into the gentry, and then to chatting about the servant problem with the Anglo-Irish horse Protestants, who at least were reared to it. And it went from that to late dinner, and now it's angst, no less. Not that the horse Protestants were any better, but they were longer at it. They are just as ignorant, except that their ill manners are sharpened by time. Sheridan was a peasant's grandson, Yeats an artist's son, Wilde a doctor's son, Parnell was the grandson of an American sea captain, Robert Emmet a doctor's son, Bernard Shaw a clerk. The myth of the Anglo-Irish and the attempt to drag Irish writers, particularly those who happen to be Protestants, after the fox hunts and the royalist inanity, would have us believe that the most rapacious, rack-renting landlord class in Europe were really lamps of culture in a bog of darkness, doing good by stealth and shoving copies of Horizon under the half-doors of the peasantry after dark, and making wedding presents to the cottagers of Ganymede Press reproductions of Gauguin. There is, of course, no such thing as an Anglo-Irish man, as Shaw pointed out in the preface to John Bull's Other Island, except as a class distinction. Even all Protestant genius is not nobbled for the stable boys and girls. It must at least wear a collar and tie. Sean O'Casey is not claimed as an Anglo-Irish writer because he had no land, except a window box would hold on the windowsill of a tenement. The Belfast industrial workers, who are the thickest concentration of royalism and pro-Britishism in Ireland, are never claimed as Anglo-Irish. The whole thing nowadays is a middle-class myth. One thing about Dublin which is indicative of this is that the middle classes are inflicted with a desire to ride. They have their daughters going bandy, taking riding lessons out there in Stillorgan and competing at the horse show. When Yeats said about Dublin, "great hatred, little room," he was referring to the middle and so-called upper classes. It's the working class that binds me to this town. They're the only real people here. The middle class have pushed years on me. If they didn't see my name in the Sunday Times and the Observer, they wouldn't want to know me. And that goes for Catholics as well as Protestants, lawyers as well as doctors. Not that I'm idealising the working class. Far from it. They don't pretend to care. Their attitude is, well, they know me a long time, they see me around for as long as they can remember, and they don't give a damn what I'm doing or think I'm doing. They have a great spirit and good neighbourly hearts. If they couldn't do you a good turn, well, they wouldn't do you a bad one.